All right, man. Hey, we're back for episode 2.
Yep.
This is like a second date. You're like, well, the first date must have went all right if they said yes to a second one.
Exactly.
So, yeah, really cool. I want to welcome everybody to the American Hunting Podcast, our second episode. I've got great feedback from a lot of folks. A lot of our members are saying, man, that's right on. There's a lot of stuff in that podcast that I've wondered or had questions about. And so, yeah, we'll keep doing them. You guys keep listening or keep viewing, and we'll keep making them, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get started, I have to mention we had another hunter die when we just did the first episode 5 days ago.
Yeah.
And 43-year-old Shane Robinson in Campbell County, Kentucky. And the report is tree stand malfunctioned. That's what the report said. And he fell to his death.
You know, you said the last episode, we weren't going to harp on this stuff, but
how do you ignore it?
How do you ignore it? And my brother actually tagged me in a post on Facebook, and it was a guy had a trail cam set up at the base of his tree. He must have been setting something up or doing something, and his camera caught the moment he fell from his tree stand and hit the ground. The guy who posted it was fine, and he kind of made a joke out of it, like, oh, the moment your camera catches you falling out of a tree. And the comments were people laughing about it, and it was lighthearted or whatever, but I just can't, it just rubbed me the wrong way, and it's impossible to ignore. And like you said, we hate to keep harping on it, but it's got to get through guys' heads at some point, and I don't know what the trick is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, from this point on, we're not going to ignore it. We're going to talk about every one of them. But so maybe sometime in the future we'll do a whole podcast on just tree stand safety. And I'm going to talk real quick to the ladies that are listening, and maybe even the ladies that don't hunt. If you're a wife, you're a sister, you're a mom of hunters, ask them if they're wearing harnesses. Ask them, more importantly, if they're using lifelines. Around the dinner table in front of everybody, ask them, "Are you doing this?" And when they say no, tell them flat out, "You're not going back until you correct that." You know. And let's not kid ourselves. The ladies in our lives make the rules for the most part, So, yeah, it's just, again, unfortunate, but that's the third fatality we've heard of this hunting season, and it's not November yet.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
So we have a little bit of a different look today because we both have headphones on, and that's because we decided to up our podcast game and have a guest on the show over the phone. So if you want to introduce him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we thought, somebody worth actually listening to would be a nice touch. So, listen, about 3 years ago, we were looking for a group or organization to support, and we found the Sportsmen's Alliance. And this is a group, it's an organization that just does tremendous work, and they've got I want to say the muscle and the passion combined, to really make a difference. And so on the phone with us today is Sean Curran, who is the Vice President of Membership and Corporate Partnerships for the Sportsmen's Alliance. That's a whale of a title, Sean.
Yeah, there's a lot of different hats that go on with that, but that's all right. That's part of the fun of doing this job is wearing a lot of those different hats and doing whatever we can do to help grow the organization and grow the Sportsmen's Alliance. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're thrilled that you're with us. And before we kind of get into the bread and butter stuff, I saw a picture of you yesterday on a blog. I want to congratulate you on your beard game. It's strong.
It is growing strong this year. We decided not to break out the clippers. My daughters encouraged me just to kind of see how long we can grow it before I finally get tired of it and hack it off here. So it's pretty robust right now.
It's pretty white too, and I noticed that. I was surprised. Mine is too, and I'll be honest with you. Just this morning, I was like, I'm pretty close to breaking out the clippers and trimming this thing a little bit back. But
from a guy who can't grow facial hair, I would ask you not to do that. Just enjoy it. I think I'm the only one in this room right now who can't do it, so there's a little bit of jealousy on my part.
All right, yeah, I'll keep her going. Well, Sean, can you explain to our listeners and our viewers what exactly is the Sportsmen's Alliance, and why is it important to all hunters?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So the Sportsmen's Alliance, we have been around, as an advocacy organization for 40 years, and our primary mission is to protect and advance our outdoor heritages of hunting, fishing, and trapping. And so the way that we do that is, we're looking out for sportsmen and women anytime issues arise. We do the majority of our work in the legislatures, both at the state and the federal level, in the courtrooms, and at the ballot box. So we're kind of the specialist group out there that is watching out for bad laws being proposed or lawsuits that would affect one's ability to go out there and do the things that we love to do, to hunt, to fish, and trap. And most of these types of things, involve hunting. That's where we see the majority of the attacks kind of taking place. And so, that's what we've been focused on, is looking out for those types of things that would restrict or prohibit any of us from going out and doing what we love to do.
Okay. Why is that? I guess here's one of the questions that I had for you early on. Like I said, I think we've been partnering with you guys for 3, if not 4 years. So here's one of my questions that I asked you, and I think Evan a year or so ago, and that is, I notice that you guys focus a lot, or actually your work is done a lot out west, where you're concerned with grizzly bears being delisted, or laws concerning wolves or wolf hunting, or even black bears up in Maine. How does that relate to a guy like myself that hunts whitetail or waterfowl mostly in the Midwest or down south? How do those two things correlate?
Yeah, that's a great question, because that's a hard bridge to kind of to cross for a lot of folks. Is, hey, I'm just a deer hunter from Ohio. Why the heck do I need to care about black bear hunting in Maine, or what's going on with grizzly bears in the Yellowstone ecosystem? Well, behind a lot of those types of things are much bigger organizations than ourselves, and much bigger than, quite frankly, a lot of the conservation groups that are out there. And these organizations are animal rights or anti-hunting organizations. And what they do is they kind of slice away at the fringes. We use, phrases like, death by 1,000 cuts. They're not going after deer hunting in Ohio or Iowa or Kansas, but they're going after black bear hunting. And they're going after predators or coyote hunting or little things around the edges that are smaller groups of hunters. They're not going to go after, waterfowl hunting tomorrow, things like that. But what they do is they attack these areas where they see vulnerability, where they can divide us, where they can pick apart hunters and take away these little things bit by bit by bit. Their end game is really to stop hunting. I mean, that's really the end game, and it's been quoted, from many people, on that side of things, is that, they want to stop trophy hunting. That's HSUS's, that's the Humane Society of the United States. That's one of their key tenets on their recently updated website, is to stop, quote unquote, trophy hunting. And they use words like that are kind of divisive, that pick things apart. But at the end of the day, they'd be just as happy if not a single one of us ever picked up a bow or ever picked up a gun to go out and go deer hunting or squirrel hunting or rabbit hunting or anything like that. So that's kind of why we need every single person that's out there that buys a hunting license to really pay attention and to really watch and stay engaged on these types of issues, because there's a lot of groups out there that really don't like what we do, and they're just fundamentally opposed to it.
You talked about how big some of these groups are, and for you guys, the Sportsmen's Alliance, do you guys pick and choose your battles? Do you have a team that kind of ranks the importance of certain legislative issues or things like that, and then you choose which ones to go after, or is it first come, first serve, and we take everything that comes our way?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both, and that's kind of a great question, is because if we could go after everything, we would. But unfortunately, a lot of these things, all of these things, come down to funding. Which fights do you pick and choose is based on, what your budget for that particular year is looking like. Lawsuits, for example, are a very costly way to do business. But unfortunately, the other groups that we kind of go against, they know this, and they have much deeper pockets than we do. Humane Society of the United States, for example, their annual budget is somewhere around $130 to $135 million. If we take a look at some of the top anti-hunting organizations out there, add them up collectively, the top 5 of them, have just an enormous, I think it's $500 million collectively to do these types of things, to take things to court, to string things out, over many, many years. So yeah, we have to be very smart about, how we spend our money, where it goes, and what issues we get involved in. Most of the time, we're looking at, some of the bigger issues that are out there. For example, right now we're involved in a lawsuit in New Jersey, where the governor, recently came in, took executive order, and has banned bear hunting on public lands in the state of New Jersey. That's not based on science. That's not based on anything that his wildlife biologist recommended. It's based simply on campaign promises that he made to his funders, some of which are, anti-hunting organizations, that he was going to stop bear hunting for no other reason than he wants to stop bear hunting. And so he's done those types of things. So those are the types of things that, we get involved in, and we partner with other organizations when we do so. The New Jersey example is a good example of, how we partner. We're partnering with the New Jersey Outdoor Alliance and with SCI. Us three groups of hunters come together collectively, and we're fighting these issues. Similar thing with the Yellowstone ecosystem grizzly bear. We're partnered with Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation on that. And so, these things don't happen, in a vacuum or by themselves. We rely on our partnerships, just as, American Hunting Lease Association is a partner of ours to help us fight these types of things. When we get into the fights, we're the specialist. We bring people together, and our government affairs team has the expertise on how to win these types of issues. But we also need our partners to come in there so that we can, have numbers behind us and really make those pushes to win these issues and protect our rights as sportsmen.
Yeah, I'm going to tell a quick story of what we did with the in the state of Illinois a couple of years ago with the Sportsmen's Alliance.
Yeah.
And that was the state of Illinois secretly passed, I can't remember, a law, basically, that was going to tax or charge a fee to landowners and anybody who helped landowners find somebody to lease their ground. Basically, what the state of Illinois tried to do, and they did, was lump leasing companies or leasing in with guides and outfitters. And it basically was just an unnecessary tax. So, as a leasing association, we tried to get in front of it. Our first call was the Sportsmen's Alliance. And, you want to talk about being aggressive. We got on a call, Sportsmen's Alliance. A week or two later, I was on a plane to Philadelphia where there was a large gathering or convention, and the Illinois head of the DNR was going to be there, and so was the Sportsmen's Alliance. And, I literally walked into a room in a hotel in Philadelphia, and I think it was Evan and one of their lobbyists said, hold on, we're going to go get him. And then 5 minutes later, in this little meeting room, walks the head of Illinois DNR. And they said, he's got a problem. And I just laid it out. And I said, here's what we think. And he said, well, that's ridiculous. He basically, at that moment, was agreeing fully with me, said, I'll take care of that when I get back. And so, kind of still ongoing. But my point is, the Sportsmen's Alliance, they jumped on it, and it was really impressive to see them work. They carry real weight. When they tap you on the shoulder, regardless of where you're at, and they say, hey, we need to talk, these politicians take those meetings and they take them to heart. So, yeah, we were thrilled and impressed with that whole thing we went through, and continue to support them. I know, and so do some of our partners now. So, yeah, we were real impressed with that. Sean, you mentioned Humane Society a minute ago. When I grew up, the Humane Society is where you went to adopt a dog,
Right.
So locally, I think people don't realize what the connection may or may not be from the local Humane Society, the Dog Pound, to this mega organization that's trying to ban hunting. Can you kind of touch on that for me?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic point, Sean. So the Humane Society of the United States is its own organization. They are not affiliated, whatsoever with your local county shelter. So the Franklin County Humane Society, they don't receive any funding at all from the Humane Society of the United States. Their funding primarily, your local Humane Society, usually they're doing good work. They've got good people there. They're helping the cats and the dogs and doing all those things that, are necessary at the local level. The problem is that you have an organization like Humane Society of the United States that shares a similar name that does a lot of deceptive fundraising. If you look at their website, it shows those same types of things, sick league dogs and cats and things of that nature. And, they run a lot of commercials asking people to donate, whatever it may be, $19.95 a month, those types of things. And people, it pulls at your heartstrings, and you want to give and you want to get involved. And so you think, oh, well, this must be the umbrella organization for my county, organization.
That's exactly what they think.
That's exactly right. And there's no relationship there whatsoever. Less than 1% of Humane Society of the United States' budget goes back to any sort of, local chapters or local shelters or anything along those lines. Instead, they use that money to file lawsuits, to go after big ag, to go after the outdoor industry, hunting, fishing, trapping, those types of things. They're extremists. They don't want to see anything that we're doing. Certainly, that's their goal. Their former CEO, he's been since removed due to some character flaws and bad things that were going on there. I won't get into the gutter of things that he was doing. But he made it clear that his goal was to end hunting. Their new leadership has that same mentality. In fact, their website was recently updated, and one of their key initiatives is to end hunting. That's it. I mean, it's as plain as day. So we've got to be getting the word out. We've got to have more and more people involved in just paying attention to these issues and watching what's going on, because it may start in Maine or it may start in California, but those things slowly creep and bounce to other states. So what happens in one area, if it's happening in New Jersey now, it could be happening in Pennsylvania next. It could be happening in Virginia after that. They bounce around, and we've got to be vigilant on these things.
I agree. It's a big dollar. This is a big dollar game. Okay, so here's one of my questions is, why does my $50 matter? I mean, I've joined, but if anybody's listening, they're like, yeah, my $50 won't even, it won't make any kind of a difference. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, can my small donation really make a difference?
Heck yes, it can. Absolutely, it can. It's interesting just looking at hunter numbers, right? We've got, I think the most recent report, was reflecting 2016 hunting license numbers, and there was, I think, 11.5 or 12 million, licenses bought that year. If we had just 1% of those hunters becoming members of the Sportsmen's Alliance, it's a game changer. We're talking about 1% of everybody who hunts becoming a $50 member or a $100 member of the Sportsmen's Alliance. All of a sudden, we're not having to pick and choose which issues we get involved in. All of a sudden, we're able to do more advancing type of things and more proactive things. One of our proactive programs, again, it's a partnership program. It's called Families Afield. So if you live in a state that has a apprentice license or a mentored hunting license, that's a proactive program that Sportsmen's Alliance, National Shooting Sports Foundation, and the National Wild Turkey Federation have partnered on for a number of years. I think we have apprentice licenses or mentored hunting licenses implemented in one way, shape, or form in 40 states now. We can do more of those types of things if we have more members, more $35 members, more $50 members. So yeah, it makes a huge impact, guys. I mean, that's what it's all about. And not only from a funding standpoint, from an advocacy standpoint, because then that 1% that becomes a member out there, they're up to date on what's going on out there. And they're able to articulate and to communicate with people in their network, the guys that you're going out hunting with. You're able to share that information, to give them a heads up on, hey, did you guys know this was going on? Hey, there's this issue that Sportsmen's Alliance is working on.
Sure.
And we're able to have just a huge influence at the grassroots level from that regard as well, too. So it's, we think, like, what the heck? What's one membership? What's one vote? What's my little impact going to be? By itself, it all starts to add up. And then you start to have that pebble in the pond ripple effect. The more of us that are engaged, the more of us that are involved, we can really move some mountains. But we've got to have people involved in the fight.
Yeah, and we're turning the death by 1,000 cuts around, and and applying it to the other side instead of it being applied
Absolutely.
to us. So yeah, no, it makes
Yep.
sense. Where can our viewers and listeners do this? Where can they join?
Yeah, so our website is sportsmensalliance.org. Right there at the top, there's Alliance membership. They can become a individual member. Right there, they can follow us on Facebook. Just look up Sportsmen's Alliance there. Instagram, Sportsmen's All. For whatever reason, we didn't spell it all the way out, but
I don't know if they give you enough
there.
characters to be able to do that.
They're restricted.
That could have been. That could have been it at the onset when we did that. So, yeah, I mean, we're on all the social platforms. The website's the main place to go for up-to-date information and to join, to become a member. That's where you need to go.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, we've got one last thing for you, and this is kind of a fun thing we're going to do for all of our guests. It's called the Tail of the Tape. Tail spelled Tail.
There you go.
So the Tail of the Tape. So we've got 6 fun questions for you. Basically, just preference. You tell me. Are you ready?
Fire away.
All right. Makeup, mask, or nothing?
Beard.
That's a good one. That's nothing. All right. Preferred tree stand snack?
Cliff Bar.
Nice. Healthy. Tree stand or blind? Ground blind.
Tree stand.
Pelvic splitter or butt out?
I am not a pelvic splitter, so I do it old school and use a butt out technique to get that taken care of.
Awesome. Joel was just asking me a little bit ago. He's like, "What's the difference? Who cares?" And I was like, "I don't. It's a preference, man." So, what's your favorite state to hunt?
Favorite state to hunt? I guess Ohio is probably near and dear to my heart. Being born and raised here, we've got some pretty good deer over here. A lot of turkeys. Waterfowl can be hit or miss. I've also had some pretty awesome experiences, chasing waterfowl out west and in the North Dakota area. So, man, it's hard. North Dakota is pretty awesome out there.
Okay.
One of the things that I'd love to go out there and chase some whitetails too. It's just different country, I guess.
Sure.
You're used to seeing the same old. And I love hunting here in Ohio. I hunt central Ohio, and then I go down south and hunt a little bit of a hillier area. But yeah, just being able to go out west and try some new things. Hunt some of those big expanses of public land that are out there. You're able to kind of do that as a waterfowl hunter. It's just kind of bounce around, and you can hunt some of the plots land and lots of public waterfowl stuff out there. So I don't know. I'd have to flip a coin on that one.
All right. We can allow that. Yeah, we need to do that together. That's something you and I have talked about a couple of years. We need to get together on a waterfowl hunt somewhere out west. Maybe next year we can make that happen. All right, last thing. What's your bucket list hunt?
Elk with a bow out west somewhere. Been looking into it the last couple of years and just haven't taken the plunge yet. Was close this year. Maybe in 2019 I can make something happen, but I definitely want to get out there and chase elk with my bow. I think that would just be amazing. It just looks like so much fun running up and down the hills out there and getting after it. And I should probably do it before I get any older and any grayer.
Any wider, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I've done it, and I've done it once and loved it. I can't wait to go back.
I'll tell you what, though, if you get a chance to do that and you get an elk out there, I want you to write a blog post like the one you wrote a couple days ago about that deer you got. That was so fun to read. And then you had posted that video of that buck walking up to you. Sean and I were talking about, we got to ask, what kind of scent protection what were you wearing? What did you do? You don't see that every day.
Yeah, so it was a really crazy experience, and I guess I'll just describe it real quick. It was, after I shot my deer last week, I collected myself, gave myself some time, and figured, okay, well, I'm just going to pull my stand out because I did a quick hang and hunt, and I'm like, I'll pull my stand, ease back to the truck, and wait a little bit, send a couple text messages out, and then start tracking. So I'm on the ground, and I'm packing up my stuff. I'm trying to be quiet, but I'm not like stealth mode ninja quiet, right? I'm just, packing up, taking my time. All of a sudden behind me, I just hear thrashing. So I turn around and I see a tree, little sapling just going back and forth. I'm like, holy cow, there's a buck over there, probably like 40, 50 yards. So I just pull out my iPhone real quick and hit up video mode, and I'm standing there, and this young buck, he was probably 2.5-year-old, he's starting to work his way through the woods. Well, all of a sudden, he cut the trail that the buck I had shot came in on. So then he turns his direction, and he starts following this trail right to me, because I ended up shooting my buck pretty much right at the base of my tree. So I'm standing at the base of this tree, still packing up my stuff, and as the video shows, that deer walks probably within 10 feet of me. I mean, it was getting so close that in my head I'm thinking, okay, Sean, you're probably going to have to move or like say something to this deer, because you know how it goes. I mean, these bucks, when they're starting to rut, you don't know what the heck they're going to do.
Right.
And he saw me, but he's kind of looking at me, and I'm still standing still. Then he just kind of slowly turns and walks away. And, I was feeling pretty good in the moment because I just arrowed a pretty good deer. And so I talked some smack on that little buck and, told him he didn't want none of this. And
that's right.
he just walked away. But as far as, scent control, I got up, I took a scent-free shower that morning. I keep my clothes in a tote. I wash them on a regular basis. But one of the things that I do, and it's kind of counterintuitive, is I use smoke as a cover scent. So I've got a thing called a scent smoker. It looks just like what beekeepers use, right? And I put oak chips in there, and I blow smoke all over myself as I'm getting dressed out there in the field, all my clothes, everything. And I've had so many experiences like that and that deer there wasn't much of a breeze that day, but that deer did approach from downwind. So they smell the smoke, but it doesn't bother them. I mean, they're used to it. And I think especially in the fall and in the Midwest this time of year, everybody's got their fireplaces going, their wood burners are going. And so I've been using smoke kind of as a cover scent for 7-8 years now. Yeah, I think it was 7 years ago I started using it, and it's pretty crazy, but it works.
Yeah, now I gotta go buy a freaking wood smoker. That's one more gadget I need.
One more thing.
Yeah. Hey, Sean, man, we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna let you go. Man, thank you so much for being part of our Just Second podcast. We really appreciate we appreciate you and your whole team over at Sportsmen's Alliance, and we would urge everybody that can hear our voice to join. Go to Sportsmen's Alliance website, take a look around, and do what you can to support them, because I assure you they are supporting you.
Thanks, Sean.
Man, I appreciate. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having us on, and love the podcast. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Thanks, bud. We'll see you.
Thanks. Bye now.
Nice, man. That guy's just they're salt of the earth people, man. They're really good people. So, what else we want to talk about? We want to talk about hunting out west.
I do. I know Sean brought up his bucket list hunt is doing something out west and hunting elk, and you've had an opportunity to go out there a couple times.
I have, boy, and just on my own, and I'll tie this in. I'll try to tie this in with what we talked about a little bit last week about hunting public land. There's a ton of public land out west. There's way more out west than in the Midwest, and we stay with the do-it-yourself method, man. So I've hunted bears twice in Idaho, and I've hunted elk once in New Mexico.
Any luck?
Yeah, on 2 of 3. So I'll tell you, my first story was the first time I went was bear hunting in Montana, and I got hooked up with a guy kind of online, and he said, "Yeah, you can go out there and hunt." He kind of talked us into it. So basically, what we did is we got online. We knew we got a plane that would fly us into the Bitterroot National Forest. So we literally just drove our truck. There's no guides, no outfitters, no nothing. We drove to Missoula, Montana, and got on a plane. Again, we hire a pilot that's got a plane. It's common out there. It's not that big a deal. It's like $150, $200 a person. He flies us out to the Bitterroot, and there's a big grass strip in the middle of the forest, and he lands, and he lets us out, and he says, "I'll see you in 5 days," and off he goes. So there's no lodge. There's nothing. It's just us and our gear. And there's a lot more that happened, but suffice to say, it was within 24 hours I was telling myself, remember this feeling and never, ever come back here and do this again. It was brutal. It was awful.
I got to bring this up. You've talked about on several occasions how you think you were made to be on the TV show Naked and Afraid or Survivor.
Yeah.
Were you second guessing that thought when you were out there?
Probably. Actually, I don't even know if I remember those shows back then. It wasn't that long ago, but it was to the point where my problem was I was following somebody else's lead. That's the problem. When you do it yourself, it's in the definition. Do it yourself, you know. So I was following somebody else's lead, and we went on an ill-advised hike in the middle of the night for probably 10 miles, and then looked at this guy that was leading, and I was like, dude, where are we? And he was like, I think we passed where I wanted to turn. He'd been there before. Okay, so we go through 36 hours of this, and I said, all right, I'm going back to the grass strip. That's exactly what we did. Me and my partner went back to the grass strip, got some bottled water out of the river, took a shower, literally, got in my tent, slept all night, got up, ate breakfast, and got out, and I said, okay, we're hunting bears. I've never hunted bears in my life. I'm going to watch the wind. It's pretty hot. I'm going to find water, and we're just going to sit there. And that day we killed a bear. Not a big bear. It's the only bear I saw. So the only bear I saw came home with us. Point being, I'd never been there. I trusted somebody else at first. Then I realized I know how to hunt. I know how to keep the wind in my favor and to just hike and walk and glass until you see what it is you're looking for. So it ended successfully, but it was rough. A couple years later, I was like, I'm going to go back. I want to redo that trip on my own, on my terms. And got out there, and as luck would have it, was 90 that week, all week, and the bears just weren't moving. And it was equally difficult, but I was calling the shots, so I was okay with it. It's like, I can do that. I can fail on my own. Yeah, the other time is we went out to New Mexico, and I say do it yourself. We signed up with an outfitter. We used an outfitter number, because when you apply for a tag in the state of New Mexico, and this they've changed since, you could use their number and practically guarantee yourself drawing a tag. It was me and two friends, and we got in the truck and we drove to New Mexico. This is nothing anybody can't do. We went to their campsite for the outfitter, and part of we paid for our money to use their outfitter number. The other part was they would have a tent for us to stay in. That's it. You know, and so we were out there. We went on public land, and three of us together, we bow hunted, and we agreed. Listen, we're going to bow hunt together. So if we kill anything, we'll all share in it. We'll all share in everything. And it's kind of a similar story. 3 days of doing what we were being kind of told to do or go over there. Finally, we said, no, we know what to do, and we stopped and we started making decisions on our own. We realized we needed to be at the top of a mountain in the morning. And so we couldn't afford to wake up and take the ATVs and drive and do all that stuff. So we went back to the tent, got our own sleeping bags, went back on the mountain and slept basically right at the base of this mountain, all on our own, right next to the trucks. We got up the next morning, scooted up the mountain, and sure enough, we were finally in front of this herd of elk. Now, again, I've never elk hunted. One of the guys had, so he had a little bit more idea what to do. And, we had an elk come get run off of a rub by a bigger elk, and this is all happened within 100 yards. And then a really good bull, if I remember, he was 310, 320. I mean, it was a good elk. He come walking right down this trail right to us, and we were spread out a little bit. And I kind of noticed one of my friends is kind of caught with his bow at his hand or at his side, and I thought, okay, I might have a shot here. The elk got to the point though where I was like, okay, if he charges, I need to know where I'm diving, because he's walking right at me. I had no shot. About that time, our third friend stuck him from the side, and he come running at me about 2 steps, saw me, and took off. And it was a phenomenal experience. Something I can't wait to do again. But, again, this isn't about what I've done. This is about if you're listening to my voice, what you can do. Yeah. You get in your truck. That time we actually pulled a trailer, an open trailer, with our ATVs and 2 deep freezers and 2 generators with us, just in hoping we were going to get something.
Pack that dude out.
Yeah, and we did. And we quartered him up, packed him up, and put him in the freezer, turned the generators on, and headed home. And so it's there.
If I want to hunt out west like that, obviously I can look at a guide or outfitting service. If I want to do the backcountry stuff, like you talked about with your bear hunt, is it over the counter tags? Do I have to put in for points? How does that work out there?
Well, it's different states, all state by state. So different species, like bears out west are like coyotes are here in the Midwest. I mean, they're everywhere. A tag for a bear is less than $100, or it was in New Mexico, and a second bear is $35. Wow. So they're easy. Again, that was in New Mexico, and that was all over the counter. Things have changed, I know, but no, just check whatever state you're looking to go to and see what you can afford. You buy the tag and drive out there and hunt them. It's there for you. It really is.
You said you want to do it again. What's your bucket list hunt now?
Boy, it's a bucket list. That's a good one. I know this. I'm gonna tell you two things. Probably a big elk, but I kill it this time, not a friend. When you don't kill it, but you get to pack it out, that's kind of the short straw. But whatever. It was pretty cool. I would love to go to Yellowstone. I want to be in the presence of a grizzly bear, the real presence. I want to be within 100 yards, and I wouldn't mind. I'd love to take a big grizzly.
It's a little too scary for me, man. I don't know about that.
I'm in. That's what makes that to me pretty impressive. But I mean, I've got all of them: elk, goats, mule deer. In all honesty, a big mature mule deer spot and stalk with my bow is probably the bucket list. Yeah, that'd be too cool.
Nice. I think this was like you said earlier, it's almost like a second date. The first one went well, and we decided to do it again. That is all due to the guy sitting behind the camera. That's producer Bert, and that's Connor. These guys, we had a lot of expectations. When we do things here, we don't want it to be, like you say, we don't want it to be a really good homemade thing.
Right.
We want it to be professional. We want it to be at a standard where people will respect it. And I'm just so happy with the way the first one went, and I'm actually more excited, looking more forward to making more of these episodes. So I just wanted to shout out these guys because I didn't get a chance to do it last week. But I think having Sean on and talking about what the Sportsmen's Alliance does and what they're doing to represent us as hunters is so important. And like you said, if you can find them online, support what they're doing because they are supporting you. That's what I would encourage everyone listening to this to do.
Absolutely. So let's wrap up here real quick.
Yeah.
I do want to mention the American Hunting Podcast is brought to you by the American Hunting Lease Association. Everything you need to enjoy a safe, successful hunting lease all in one place. That's at ahuntinglease.org. Resources like The Secret to Hunting Private Land and the Front Porch Kit, both free to download, to time-tested lease agreements, and, of course, the most affordable hunting lease liability insurance policy you will find. Protect your landowner and yourself with the AHLA's complete risk management package. And again, you find all that at www.ahuntinglease.org. Now, from old guy to young guy, do I need to say www anymore?
I wouldn't.
Okay, because nobody's out there being like, I thought it was why. It's we're good.
I'm just happy you threw the third W in there. I hear a lot of people say www. And that's just not right. But no, ahuntinglease.org, you can find everything there. Find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. These guys will link it in the description. Go give us a like, support this podcast, help us to create this content. And that's all I got.
Absolutely. And it is Halloween as we talk. It's raining cats and dogs, but that's okay. It's going to break anytime soon. So good luck this week until we see you again on another podcast. And as always, hunt safe.
See ya.